Even laptop, is it?
No, but a chip fork isn't really a fork because
but it is though.
you can't eat. It's called a chip. Yeah, but you can't eat pasta with a chip fork.
But you could.
You could.
Okay.
Which I think is a way to bring them together. As like
No, I don't think that's the best way.
So there's loads of good angles, but what I do is just keep them all going. Actually, I think just keep them all on the ball.
And I think
show an insight into something that most people don't see.
What are you on about?
This way. So when you Googled like certain words in Japanese,
Essentially a symmetrical shape, but with one end it's got sort of V shape cut out of it, so its form is so simple, and I think that idea of like simplifying forms.
Quantum physics. I don't know if should I pass these around?
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's quite a shock as a tutor, but you come to realise that maybe the students learn more from each other than they ever do from you.
Steve said that he thinks that art students from the Glasgow School of Art are working all the time, even when they're watching TV. Do you agree?
Well, some of them are. The best ones definitely are. That's what you should be doing. Whether all of them are is another matter. But I would hope so, yes.
The real reason I ended up at Glasgow School of Art is probably because they made a mistake at Langside College when I went to sign up for A-level physics, chemistry and biology.
I mean, I absolutely loved every minute of art school, to the point obviously now where I'm in this tragic position where I now work there, and someone sort of spent actually what's approaching like half of my life, my entire life has been connected to the art school somehow.
And I can say hand on heart, I've been in education 20 years and I've never been bored. I've never had a boring day.
Certainly when people arrive at GSA to study interior design, we don't expect them to be fully formed at that point. So we're embarking on a journey together. We look at the world through the prism of the interior, and obsession is a helpful tool in that gazing.
Why did you decide to study interior design?
Well, I found it one of the most appealing career paths that I wanted to take, because I studied in Denmark and I did fashion design and business, and I wasn't really into it, as I discovered after the study trip to Paris. I realized that my camera is full of pictures of architecture, interior design, and I just realized that I want to do something different.
They don't have to be overtly technical, you know, you can sort of master those aspects as you go through the course and then as you become an actual practicing designer. But yeah, just someone that's just looks at the world differently and can find inspiration in the weirdest, smallest, most common thing, I think, and sort of can translate that into something really exciting.
Art school runs off kind of combining differences, or where there's differences, or people trying to bridge the gap between two different things. Is quite a creative sort of process, and that idea of people coming in with different experiences is really, I think, important for the art school.
We have staff from Glasgow going out to Singapore to teach and to support staff and students across there, but we also have staff from Singapore coming across here and, you know, sharing knowledge and understanding of, you know, teaching and learning. That's really beneficial.
To some degree, one of the interesting things about the Singaporean course is that its aim is to try and get Singaporean students, potential design people, to have that edginess that you get from what one might call Western European or American type design and art education, which comes from being in these rather decrepit cities where there's very much more freedom to do all sorts of things, which would be illegal in Singapore. And so there's
The
students, when they came over for the overseas immersion programme, they were on quite an intensive programme of work, and they were very productive, and, you know, very good attendance, and the studio was absolutely buzzing, you know, every day. And I think that the students from Glasgow sort of got wrapped up in that, got involved in that.
there's a few students from Glasgow who were just sort of getting involved and taking them on a little tour of Glasgow, showing them places that were interesting to us, and sharing the way that we work in Glasgow, the kind of processes that we use to develop our work. So it was really good. I mean, it was really interesting, quite an enriching experience, and they were a really cool bunch of people, really nice.
I think we are operating in a global context. I think students need to be aware of cultural differences, economic differences, the whole potential client base in a global sense. I think it's very useful for students on both sites to have this link across the planet.
It'd be quite nice if you could shovel the Glaswegians into Singapore just to give them a bit of a culture shock. I think it's probably equally culture shock one way or the other.
Got to be quite fluid and open-minded, because I think in real life projects there's lots of obstacles that come your way, whether it's finance, building regulations. So I think you've got to be quite open-minded, quite fluid, very positive, lots of energy. You get lots of bumps and you need to get, jump back, straight back up again. So I think a really good communicator as well. I think you've got to be, as well as good listener, you've got to be able to be quite persuasive. And I think that starts in student life when you're presenting your work as a crit and you're listening to your fellow students. You're not competing, and you work really well together.
Well, I've always loved art, but I also really love science, and I wanted something that was artistic but also logical, and I kind of felt interior design was just the perfect mix, because you're designing a space for people and you're looking at all the logistics of that, but you're also being creative, and it was just a really lovely mix, and it just felt that's perfect. Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of things to get used to for students, and it takes a wee bit of time. Term 1 is generally the term where they start off really excited and then get a wee bit homesick, and then it picks up again generally at the end, and that's quite normal. It's you see it year in, year out, and it's just all part of moving away from home and being in a different city.
I think that it's lots of playing and experimenting, and it's multidisciplinary. I think that it's quite good because for those first couple of years you're doing all 3 subjects, illustration, graphics, photography, so I didn't want to be sort of constrained because I wasn't sure whether I had like a specific thing I was interested in. So just, in order to do lots of different things.
All of the students are really kind of they'll say what they think about stuff, but it's always framed in a positive way, I think, most of the time.
You have a fresh group of students every year, so there's always a beginning, a middle and an end, and there's always a celebration at the end of the year to say, wow, didn't we do well?
Postgraduate is run variously out of a graduate school and out of different departments and programmes within the school in general.
I suppose one of the things that's exciting for postgraduate students coming into the Glasgow School of Art is the relationship with undergraduate students and the access to some fantastic facilities. We recruit from national, international, so we have a lot of international students on our postgraduate courses, and that's what really makes that sort of diverse student profile makes it really exciting.
One of the most valuable lessons I got in art school was, which I found ridiculous and I couldn't understand at the time, was because I did well all through art school. I got kind of A's every year. But in second year, I finished the year with a B, and I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated because I'd worked so hard. And I pulled, it was Susan and Neil and Elise, the 3 tutors aside. They said to me, "You're working too hard." And I said, "What?" I couldn't get my head around. I was like, "I'm working too hard." And they were like, "Yeah, you're too many hours. You're not stepping back. You're not getting enough distance from your work. You're not reflecting enough on your process." So all my work was initially good, and the ends of it were okay, but they were never as strong as they could be. But at the time I couldn't understand. I just couldn't get my head around this I don't know, that's ridiculous. Why are you telling me not? And at the end, the feedback form at the end was, take breaks, don't work this weekend, take a week off, don't come in next week. And I was like, what? I
don't know. I think GSA students are at work probably all the time in their own way. Do you know what I mean? I remember reading this brilliant essay by Francis McKee, and he talked about like the value of daytime TV to art students. I don't know whether you've read it. It was just wonderful, and he was just saying, you know, there's very few places where you get the opportunity to daydream. You know, where you get the opportunity to, you know, to kind of mull things round. But that's when the most interesting stuff happens, really.